The Democrats are now in full panic as Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer mocks Catholics. Good morning, Kuhner country. Holy shamoli. Ho, 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 ho. Things are now blowing up politically on multiple fronts for Kamala Harris and her campaign, and she may have now just kissed away the entire Catholic vote. So, here is now the absolute latest. Boy, it's going from bad to worse for Kamala. Let's put it this way. So, Michigan's uber-liberal Democrat governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Now, remember, she's not just the governor of Michigan. She is the co-chair of the Kamala campaign. So, she's a senior official, a senior surrogate of Kamala's presidential campaign, is now caught in a massive scandal. And I don't mean a scandal relating to Michigan politics. I'm talking now a much bigger scandal. So here is exactly what took place, my friends. Gretchen Whitmer, as Kamala's co-chair and as a spokesperson for the Kamala campaign, went on a feminist podcast. This woman, I never heard of this woman. She's a social media influencer. Her name is Liz Plank. And the podcast was about abortion. Gretchen Whitmer is very pro-abortion. She wants no limits, no restrictions of any kind. Liz Plank was even joking with Gretchen Whitmer. Do you support post-birth abortion encompassing your two grown-up children? So they think post-birth abortion is funny. So that was the context of the podcast. And the reason why she was on the podcast with this feminist social media influencer was specifically to encourage women, young women, feminist women, to vote for Kamala. And then they decided, and I have no idea why they thought this was a good idea, to send out or post a video along with the podcast. Now, you may be saying at this point, Jeff, okay, what's the big deal, Jeff? Everybody knows Gretchen Whitmer's a radical leftist. She's radically pro-abortion. Kamala's pro-abortion. What's the big deal, Jeff? Here it is. And I am telling you, in all my years of being on the air, and this is something Sandy, Mike, and I discussed in our pre-show production meeting. Sandy is a Catholic. Mike is a Catholic. As you know, I am a devout Roman Catholic, a Christian. Very few things have disgusted me, have turned my stomach, offended me. What is in that video? It is sacrilegious. It is blasphemous. It is, I'm telling you, it is pure anti-Catholic bigotry. Anti-Christian, anti-Catholic bigotry. The video that they released is of Gretchen Whitmer wearing a camouflage Harris Waltz baseball cap. But she's acting almost in a manner that she's like a dominatrix. That's the sort of sexual undertone. And that she's a priestess, like a dominatrix priestess, who has a Dorito corn chip, Dorito chips, a Dorito chip in her hand, and she's using it as the Holy Eucharist. She's mimicking communion and the wafer, the Eucharist wafer. And Liz Plank, the influencer, is on her knees as if she's in a sexually submissive position, but also that she's taking now the Holy Communion, the Eucharist. And Whitmer puts the Dorito corn chip on her tongue, in her mouth, as if she's giving communion, and this woman is accepting communion. And she she takes the wafer and then she swallows it. And then the camera, she looks up at Gretchen Whitmer, and then the camera goes to Whitmer, and Whitmer gives a kind of satanic, I don't know what else to say it, almost like a demonic satanic look into the camera, as if this is a cult. We are worshiping at the Church of Kamala. We are worshiping at the Church of Abortion. And they're proud that they're mocking the Catholic faith, mocking Catholics, and mocking what is a sacrament, a holy sacrament to most Catholics, frankly, including myself, which is the Eucharist, the communion. It is a sickening video. It is beyond grotesque. And let me just make a couple of points, and then I want to throw it open to you. 617-266-6868. To be frank, I really want to take calls right after the break. So if you want to call in, now is the time to do it and weigh in on this. First of all, there is no question about it. Okay? There's no question. This was mocking and mimicking Catholics and the rite of Holy Communion. And the reason why, this is the pretext, what this has to do with abortion, what this has to do with Catholicism, what this has to do with taking the Eucharist or the wafer, the communion, is beyond me. Apparently, they're trying to also promote the CHIPS Act, which is, as you know, a Biden program Harris supports to give federal subsidies to domestic manufacturers of semiconductor chips so they can boost domestic production and not have to rely on foreign suppliers. Now, what this has to do with computer chips, what this, in other words, defend the CHIPS Act because they're claiming Trump won't. And that's the caption that goes with this video. But this has nothing to do with computer chips. This has nothing to do with domestic production of semiconductor chips or of promoting domestic technology or manufacturing. This is out and out blasphemy. This is out and out, there's no other word for it. This is out and out mocking of the Catholic faith. Now, there are a lot of Catholics in Michigan. There are a lot of Catholics in Wisconsin. There are a lot of Catholics in Pennsylvania. In the upper Midwest, there are a ton of Catholic voters. And that they would be so arrogant, so brazen, so insulting, so offensive, so utterly indifferent, that they would stand there and think that it's funny, that it's cute, that it's somehow cutting edge and risque to mock one of the most sacred sacraments in the Catholic Church. I mean, these people, they're satanic. I'm sorry, they're diabolical. There's no other way to put it. And what you're now witnessing, without a doubt, is they're no longer in the closet. The Democrat Party is an openly anti-Christian, anti-Catholic party. And for the life of me, why any Catholic would vote for Kamala Harris, or why you would vote for a Democrat, or the Democratic Party, as it's currently constituted today, any Christian that would vote for Kamala or the Democratic Party is utterly beyond me. What they stand for is infanticide. What they stand for is abortion on demand. No restrictions, no limits, partial birth abortion, post-birth abortion. The baby is born alive. And now to do this? Michigan is supposed to be a tight race. Some are even saying it's on a razor's edge. let me tell you, this is now causing a massive scandal for the Democrats. Catholics in Michigan are rightly outraged. Catholics in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are rightly outraged. Catholics across the country are rightly outraged. And what I want to know is this. Where is the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops? That's what I want to know. Where is the Pope on this issue? A campaign co-chair of Kamala Harris. And by the way, to this moment, this happened yesterday, Kamala has not condemned it. Tim Walz, that fraud, has not condemned it. So I guess they agree with it. They think this is funny. Where is the Pope on this? The Vatican must speak out and denounce this. But above all, it is now time for Christians across this country and Catholics across this country to say, we will be mocked no more. They would never do this against Islam. Ever, ever, ever. Anything close to this. She just lost Michigan. She just lost the Midwest. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, as many of you are pointing out on the text line, 70470, if you want to text into the show, 70470, in emails to the Kuhner Man and in messaging me on Messenger. It's the reason why they picked Doritos for this vile, disgusting ad, or video, I guess, that Gretchen Whitmer picked, was because Doritos is apparently Kamala Harris's favorite food. It's her favorite snack. It's her guilty pleasure, as she says. So that's why everybody has to be eating Doritos now, because she likes Doritos. Now, let me just ask all of you, do you think Christians in general, because they're mocking Christ, they are. I mean, the whole video is them mocking Christ, mocking Catholics, mocking Christians, mocking the church. Do you think this blatant Christophobia, and that's what this is, it's Christophobia, it's pure anti-Christian discrimination and bigotry, do people care?
One of my guilty pleasures, especially when I'm on the road, are my Doritos.
Oh, what flavor?
Nacho. Old school, original.
OG,
Come on.
Yeah. OG.
Come on.
Red bag.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Red bag.
That's exactly. Got to have a napkin nearby.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, she's such a fraud. You know, come on. Yeah, old school. Got to have a napkin nearby. So that's why you have Gretchen Whitmer with a Harris Waltz ball cap on, and the whole podcast is to tell young people, young women, to vote for Harris and the Democratic Party this election. And so she goes on this feminist who's very pro-abortion, influencers podcast. I never heard of this woman before. And they're talking about abortion. The whole podcast is about how great abortion is and how there should be no limits, no restrictions. And they're even talking and joking about post-birth abortion. And then they say, hey, we're going to put a video. And so this influencer, Liz Plank is her name, never heard of her, goes on her knees, kneeling in front of Gretchen Whitmer, and Whitmer is giving her a Dorito chip as if it's Holy Communion. As if it's, like I said, as if it's a wafer and the Eucharist, and puts it in her mouth. And then she swallows it. But what a lot of commentators have pointed out, there's a very strong sexual undertone of a kind of that Gretchen Whitmer is the dominatrix and this Liz Plank is the submissive. So it's on multiple levels. It's mocking the church. It's mocking communion. It's mocking Donald Trump. But it's also giving kind of like a wink, wink. There's a satanic, Satanist almost undercurrent to this. And there's also a very strong sexual vibe to the whole thing. It's truly disgusting. I have to tell you, it's a little weird. It's a little bizarre the way they're looking at the camera. Why you would want to do this? Why you think this is funny? I don't know what you're getting. How are you getting votes for this? No, I'm trying to be serious. Like, she's the co-chair of the Kamala campaign. This is now a huge scandal erupting in the campaign. This story is everywhere. I mean, everywhere. So, are there that many Satanists? No, I'm serious. Are there that many anti-Christian, anti-Catholic haters out there that people love this and say, yeah? Are there so many people into sadomasochism and S&M sex? That they're like, oh, well, yeah, if you're gonna revile and mock the church, yeah, if you're gonna stand there and ridicule and go after, Catholics and Catholic sacraments, yeah, that's how we do things here. Yeah, I'm gonna vote for you now. This is a massive mistake. I could be wrong. This has now inflamed Catholics, inflamed Christians. I think people find this vulgar, disgusting, frankly, pure religious bigotry or anti-religious bigotry, to be more accurate. And seriously, is this what abortion politics has now become? Where you just revile religion and people of religious faith? Is this what it now? That's what it is now. So let me ask all of you. Okay, a couple questions, and I want to take calls. 617-266-6868 is the number. 1, did you see the video? What did you make of the video? And 2, more importantly, what do you? Is it appropriate for a presidential candidate and her campaign to be openly ridiculing, mocking, and mimicking a sacrament of Catholics, of the Catholic Church, and to stand there and make fun of a religious group? They would never, ever do this, as I said, against Muslims. You would never see them try anything like this. Mock the Quran, mock the way Muslims pray, or anything like this. Many of you are texting the Kuhner man saying, but Jeff, why would they be mocking the Catholic Church? You know, why are Gretchen Whitmer and this social media influencer, obsessed with, going after the church and mocking the ritual of the priest, the sacrament of the priest giving Eucharist or Holy Communion to a parishioner in Mass? Well, because the Catholic Church is staunchly pro-life. And as the podcast that they did, these are two pro-abortion extremists. So they're basically saying the church stands in our way, we have to destroy the church. And what they're also trying to imply, again, there's a very strong sexual undercurrent to all of this. She's a dominatrix, this one's the submissive, there's almost a satanic element to it, but that the Democratic Party is a church. And that it's a single Dorito corn chip that she puts in this woman's mouth as she's kneeling, as if she's taking communion. And so Kamala's favorite snack is now replacing the body and blood of Christ, which is what Christians believe, or some Christians, Catholics and Orthodox Christians, and who take Eucharist, who take communion. So Kamala supplants Christ. The Democratic Party supplants the church. And the high priestess, or the Pope, is now Kamala Harris. And Gretchen Whitmer is one of her priestesses. That's the clear message that they're sending. Now, just ask yourself this. No, really. How sick and depraved and demented do you have to be to make fun of communion? Like, ay, ay, ay. Really, ay, ay, ay. I just want to read one message from Larry on Messenger, and then I want to go to the phone lines. 617-266-6868. Let me throw another quick log in terms of a question. Do you think this will have an impact on the election? Especially in the key battleground states. As I said, a lot of Catholics in Michigan, a lot of Catholics in Wisconsin, a lot of Catholics in Pennsylvania, not so much in North Carolina and Georgia. There are some, obviously, in Arizona, but in terms of the upper Midwest, and she's known, Gretchen Whitmer, as the governor of Michigan. By the way, seen as a serious presidential contender in 2028, was even on the short list for Kamala to be your VP pick. So she's not just the campaign co-chair. She's not just running Kamala's campaign and one of her top surrogates. This is someone that is considered a future presidential nominee, a power, a force to be reckoned with. And this is the kind of lunatic she is? I mean, ay, ay, ay. Seriously, ay, ay, ay. So anyway, as Larry, as Larry put it on Messenger, Jeff, in a way, I'm glad this happened, frankly. It's officially out in the open. So Christians, and especially Catholics, truly understand that the Democrats hate us. Well, now you can't put that genie back in the bottle. So when you go to church this Sunday and you talk to your fellow parishioners and some of them say, oh, I'm voting for Kamala, just let them know about this story and say, yeah, really? Because they revile us. They hold us in such contempt that they literally mock communion and the taking of the Holy Eucharist. As a Catholic, how the hell can you vote for this? A party that openly despises and ridicules you. 617-266-6868. And by the way, where's Joe Biden? Joey! He always goes, I'm a Catholic. I'm a cradle Catholic. Yeah, where are you, Joey? Huh? Where's Nancy Pelosi, that other fraud? You know, I'm a Catholic. Yeah, well, liberal Catholics like you, we don't need, okay? But let that go. Where's Nancy Pelosi? Where are all these Democrat politicians who, quote-unquote, publicly claim they're, quote-unquote, Catholic, but then champion everything the church teaches against? Everything. But now you have the clear mocking and ridicule, clear display of unadulterated anti-Catholic bigotry. And notice, silence. Absolute silence. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Mark in New Hampshire. You're going to kick us off, Mark. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hey, buddy.
Mark, how are you, my friend?
Good, my man. Hey, proud to be the first guy up today. Listen, Jeff, there's an underlying facet to this whole thing, and that is communism. You go back to Karl Marx in 1840, 180 years ago, Jeff. Karl Marx called religion was the opium of the people. It was a tool of the oppressor to blind people to the benefits of communism, Jeff. Now, these communists, Jeff, they believe that there should be only one all supreme power, and that should be government. That should be the collective. The problem with faith, Jeff, is that it teaches us that you know, sure, we have leaders, we have rulers, you know, we have the people that we put in office, you know, to kind of run the nation, but we answer to God. We don't answer to, you know, Washington, D.C. And they believe, Jeff, communists believe that if you can, you know, embrace communism, that there won't be a need to have faith. So this is all about wanting to end faith in its entirety, Jeff, just so they can push forward with their communist movement.
Mark, I think you're dead on. I think it's an absolutely brilliant point. Brilliant point. Mark, I'm just curious, why would someone like Gretchen Whitmer, and again, she's the co-chair of the Kamala campaign. She's everywhere. She's always speaking on behalf of Kamala. She's giving interviews on behalf of Kamala. She's one of her top senior advisors and strategists. She was there on that podcast with this crazy liberal influencer, feminist influencer, pushing and advocating for Kamala, saying, you have to support Kamala for abortion. You want full abortion rights from, conception till the baby is born, and no restrictions, no limits. You've got to vote for Kamala. Why would they do this? I mean, Mark, this is the part I can't wrap my mind around. I mean, I understand if they did it, let's say once they installed her in power, to mock us. But with 25 days left to go, and, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania in play, why would they go out of their way to slap Catholics and people of faith in general right in the face? What's your theory?
They may sit up there and tell you, oh, I'm a devout Catholic. The thing with communists, Jeff, is throughout history, they've used aspects of faith. This whole communitarianism, where they say, oh, you have to help your neighbor. Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That's a tenet of the teaching of Jesus, So what they believe is, government should love thy neighbor as thyself, Jeff. So they think their arrogance, Jeff. They believe that they can spit on people of faith, Jeff. This is like when you watch these college kids that get up there and scream and yell about, oh, we need this socialism, down with Israel. They think that they're just, right on that cutting edge of leading this nation, Jeff, and that everyone is heading towards getting away from faith. And they think if I could just be, the engine that leads this train of ending faith, we can move our country into this utopian communist society where everybody has equal outcome. And it's a bunch of crap, Jeff.
You're on fire today, Mark. Mark, honestly, your calls are always really good, but this may have been one of your best. Mark, thank you very much and have a great weekend. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, I think you pretty much nailed it. They think they're being very cutting edge, artistic, bold, risque, trendy, chic. You got to see the video. Gretchen Whitmer is so full of herself. And the podcaster, the one that's on her knees taking the Dorito chip as the host, she thinks, oh, she's being so witty and so, so woke. They have no idea the damage that they've done and the backlash that is coming. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is a phenomenal text. 603. It's Kevin who sent it to me. He's a huge backer of the show. Really one of the show's closest allies. And this is what Kevin sent to me. It is a picture of Gretchen Whitmer, the co-chair of Kamala's campaign, the governor of Michigan. She's wearing a pink Planned Parenthood baseball cap. And what it says on the baseball cap is, Planned Parenthood makes America great. So that's what the cap says. And this is what Kevin writes to me in his text. Jeff, here is a picture of Gretchen Whitmer wearing her pink Planned Parenthood Makes America Great hat. I've been saying it for years, Jeff. Whitmer is one of the most evil and demonic-looking women I have ever seen. You can see it in her sociopathic eyes. The woman is wicked to the core. You know, I got to tell you, that is very true. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me, Kuhner Country, but I can't tell you how many times I look at Whitmer. I'm not just talking about this particular instance. And I'm like, there's something evil about this woman. It's her face. It's her eyes. It's how cold. And I think sociopathic is really the right word. You look at her and you're like, something is off with this woman. She really gives off just a horrible vibe, a really sinister vibe. Anyway, Kevin continues. Although it was obviously parodied in a very Catholic fashion, this is a blatant spit in the eye to all Christians because most denominations take communion. And I agree. I picked up on the sexual dominatrix overtone right off the bat as well. I was just waiting for her to break out with the sex toys next. And this is a sitting governor? With like 3 question marks. Kevin, you're dead on. You're absolutely dead on. So let me ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. And I really would like as many of you to participate and vote as possible, because I think it's going to shed a lot of light on what's happening now at the state of the campaign and what they have now just done, both Gretchen Whitmer, Kamala Harris, and whether they just shot themselves in the foot again. And now maybe they have just kissed away the Catholic vote, especially in Michigan and Wisconsin, because those 2 states have large, huge Catholic populations. So, the Kuhner Country question of the day, sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Did Gretchen Whitmer commit blasphemy? Did she commit blasphemy when she gave the Dorito chip and put it into the mouth of the social media influencer kneeling as if she was receiving the Eucharist or Holy Communion?
That is blasphemous!
Did she engage or commit blasphemy? I'm just curious. A, yes. B, no. I'm a yes all the way. And that's why I think many Catholics are going to be sickened, and frankly, many Christians are going to be sickened and utterly disgusted by this. And that's why they're panicking behind closed doors. Because I think they just kissed away Michigan and Wisconsin. When people see this, they're like, no, you know what? Maybe I was undecided. I'm not undecided anymore. So, yes or no, you can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, wrko.com/Kuhner. You can also vote via X, very active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn as in national ER, 617-266-6868. Lines are on fire. Who do you want me to go to next, Mike? David on Cape Cod. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, David.
Jeff. Hi. Jeff, it's disgusting. Jeff, they wouldn't do this to Muslims. Jesus died on the cross to give Catholics, to give Christians the Eucharist. And it's interesting. It's very symbolic because abortion to them is like a sacrament. And here they are mocking the body of Christ, mocking Christians. It's a wake-up call. You know, Jeff, what's infuriating to me is the Catholics that I see that have signs on their lawns that say Harris Waltz, the Catholics in Situate, the Catholics in Hingham, the Catholics in Cohasset, the ones in Boston, the ones in Marshfield, down the Cape. They have famous Catholics, people that are well-known, have big names. They have their Harris Waltz signs And it disgusts me. I said, do people not realize that they're running on the abortion platform? They're running on, that's their main thing, one of their main things, if not the main thing, the Roe versus Wade. They want to bring abortion back. And I say, how can you be Catholic and seriously Catholic and vote for these people? Because for me, Jeff, if I vote for Harris Waltz, I'm giving my personal stamp of approval, my imprimatur, my approval of killing the unborn baby up until the day of birth. I'm saying, Lord, this is okay. As a Catholic now, I'm speaking to Catholics in particular, because I'm Catholic. If you vote for these people, if you vote for this woman, you're giving your personal stamp of approval to killing the unborn baby up until the day of birth. That's who these people are. And it's come now. They really should see this is who they are. If I vote for her, Jeff, I wouldn't want to die in a car crash on the way home, because I believe I'd be greasing the skids to go straight to hell, because I'm approving the butchery of an unborn baby in the womb. These people are despicable. There is something wrong with this Gretchen Whitmer, Jeff.
Oh, there's no question. No, there is. Look, we can go into the history of her. There's no question. Really, you can see it even when you look in her face. The expression, the elevator doesn't go to the top. You can tell there's something unhinged and borderline demented about her. You can see that. Demonic is the only word. A witch. I mean, I hate to say this. And I don't mean a witch as I'm making fun of her appearance. I mean, just there's something about her. You're like, this woman is not right. She's just not right. And look, David, I want to get back to something you said. It's a sin. I'm speaking now as a Catholic. To vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is a sin to Catholics. I don't want to speak for other denominations. I can only speak for my own. It's a sin. And it's not just, you're right about abortion completely. It's butchery. They're advocating infanticide. They're advocating the murder of unborn children. And not just the murder of unborn children, the murder of children who are also born alive and healthy during a botched abortion. So we're talking now naked infanticide. It's not in the womb. The baby's outside the womb. Now, you don't get more barbaric than that. Okay? It is pure, naked evil. It is sin at its most profound level, a mortal sin. And I'm sorry, but priests should be denouncing this from the pulpit, for God's sake. Okay? But let's just let that go. Believe it or not, let that go. Okay? Just let it go for a second. We're not even talking about abortion. Barbaric, grotesque, immoral, evil as it is. We're now taking this to a higher level. They're now openly mocking and vilifying Christianity itself, Jesus himself, and the Catholic Church in this case in particular. So how can you, as a Christian, and again, that's our denomination, as a Catholic, you're going to vote for a political party and a presidential ticket that literally despises everything that you stand for and is saying to you, as clearly as they can say it, we're going to destroy your church, your most sacred sacrament, that of communion. We're going to mock it because our church, the Church of the Democratic Party, the Church of Liberalism, the Church of Abortion, trumps your church. Now, I'm sorry. If no one has the guts to say it, David, I'm going to say it, or else what's the point of me being behind this microphone? If you're a so-called Catholic or Christian, and you say you support Harrison Waltz, you are a self-hating Catholic and a self-hating Christian. I'm sorry. That's now what this means. They're out of the closet. It's now open. There's no debate or discussion anymore. From this point forward, Kamala has not denounced this. Tim Walz has not denounced this. Nancy Pelosi has not denounced this. Joe Biden, he's supposed to be a Catholic president, he has not denounced this. In fact, they think it's funny They think this is all much ado about nothing. So they have shown us, I don't know how much more clearly they can show you, that they hate us. And they revile us. And they mock us. And they make fun of us. And you're going to vote for them? I'm sorry. Then it's not just Gretchen Whitmer who has a psychological problem. It's all these Catholics that are voting for the Democrats and especially for Harrison Waltz. Final word to you, David. Agree, disagree?
Jeff, you are spot on. You know, Jeff, when you were sick with COVID, I was praying for you that you would come through. And you mentioned the other day, and I do believe in the power of prayer. But these people, Jeff, they're mocking Christians. They wouldn't dare do it to Muslims. The Eucharist is the core of the Christian Catholic belief. And Catholics, it's clarified in your mind. If there's any doubt in your mind whether these people are evil or not, whether they're mocking Christianity, they just defined it now, because you cannot be voting for these people as a Catholic. I'm speaking only to Catholics now. Forget the other. You cannot be voting for these people and think that you're doing something that's a good thing, because they're mocking Christianity. They're mocking God, who's given us the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
David, very well said. Very well said. And I want to thank you for your courage and thank you for your call. 617-266-6868 is the number. No, to me, it's the chutzpah. Really, it's the gall of these people. And you got to see the video. They're so cocky. They're so arrogant. You want to talk about pride and hubris. And look, there clearly is, I'm not the only one who's made this point, there's a satanic undertone. There is. In other words, like, wink, wink, there's a sexual dominatrix undertone to this as well, but also sort of like, wink, wink, sort of like, church, it's the opium of the masses. It's what Marx said in New Hampshire. It was Marx's famous line. Okay, Karl Marx's famous line. And this is what communism is. Communism seeks to destroy and abolish all religion, especially Christianity. From its inception, it is at war with Christianity. Judaism as well, obviously, but Christianity in particular. So this is the opium of the masses. And so when you see them, the Dorito chip in the mouth, the sinister smile, her looking in the camera, with that cold, hard look on her face, what they're really basically saying is, your church is a joke. Jesus is a joke. Oh, you guys, really? He died for our sins? You really believe that? Yeah? And you're taking the body of Christ when you take the Eucharist or the communion? You idiots really believe that? There's like a satanic undertone to the whole thing. We're going to use the rituals of the church to mock the church and to mock Christianity. It's really, I'm telling you, very few things have, I don't even know if offended me is the right word. I mean, I was disgusted. I was outraged. But I have to tell you more than that. It sickened me to my stomach. If you want my honest reaction, when I saw this, first I shook my head. I'm like, no, this can't be true. First I said to myself, is this like AI? Is this like somebody, it's like a parody? Yeah, the Democrats would do something like this, and Gretchen Whitmer would be exactly the kind of person to do something like this. But then I'm like, no, it's not some fake AI generated video. It's true. She really did it. She went on the podcast. They talked about abortion, the glories of abortion, the glories of post-birth abortion. They're even joking, literally. The influencer says to Gretchen Whitmer, hey, you think maybe you should have had a post-birth abortion on your 2 kids? And I'm like, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, you find this funny? Killing kids is funny? Killing babies is funny? And then when I saw that, I'm like, this is demonic. This is a satanic party. I'm sorry. Really, and they're a phony party because they never would do this to Islam. You know why? A fatwa on your head. So they know the real religion of peace. They know which one's the real religion of peace. They know nothing is going to happen to them. Zero. Mock the Prophet Muhammad. I dare you. Mock the Muslims and how they pray. Mock the Quran. I dare you. You'll never do it. You know why? Because they'll bomb your home to smithereens. Or bomb your car. Or, come in and, as they did to that magazine, Charlie Hebdo, and just massacre everybody right on the spot for daring to make fun of the Prophet Muhammad. So instead, as always, take shots at Jesus, take shots at the church, take shots at Christians. Well, I'm not advocating violence. Please, don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is march to the ballot box and give them a political drubbing that they've never seen before. And I hope every Catholic, every Christian across the country, but especially in the Midwest, because that's where she is, I hope they realize exactly now who and what they're dealing with and send them a message they'll never forget on November 5th. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree? Justin in Florida. Thanks for holding, Justin, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi, Justin.
Sorry,
before you say anything, Justin, tell me, how are you and how is your family in the wake of Hurricane Milton?
Oh, we are absolutely fine. I live in the Panhandle, so we didn't get touched by this one.
Okay, good. That's good to hear, Justin. Justin, what do you make of this? Do you think this was blasphemous? And do you think she was mocking Christians? And is this, did she engage in blatant anti-Catholic bigotry?
I think it went above anti-Catholic. I think it's anti-Christian all the way around. I grew up Pentecostal. We do communion. Other parts of my family are Church of Christ. They do communion. So it's not just Catholic at this point. It's Christianity altogether. And another thing I've been thinking of all morning with this story is the fact that, well, you got mocking of God. You have normalcy of gay and transgender. You have godliness all over the street. I might be overthinking this, but I'm going to let you tell me yay or nay on it. Is it just me, or is it sounding like they're trying to rebuild the story of Sodom and Gomorrah?
Oh, Justin, look, I'm not saying this for dramatic effect. You want my brutally honest answer? Like I'm in the confessional? I think it's beyond Sodom and Gomorrah. I really do. You're looking at, let's just take their position on abortion. I mean, maybe the Roman Empire, maybe, where they would carry the baby after it was born and leave it on a hilltop to die. I mean, that's what we're reverting to. I mean, this is really what they're pushing now. We're talking now transgendered kids. I don't want to get into it, but just think about it. Mutilating the genitals of children, 8, 9, 10 years old. Mutilating them. Because they're trying to convince them that a girl is a boy or a boy is a girl. When this is now, it's unalterable. You can't change it. It's done. Giving them puberty blockers, chemical castration. They are destroying children. We are going to look back on this time the way we look back, on eugenics. We're going to look back on, or the way we look back on slavery. We're going to look back on this time and say, what was wrong with us? How could we have treated human beings like this? So you look at everything the Democrat Party now stands for. I'm sorry, it's Satan's party. I mean, it's an evil party to the very core, to the point that they are now openly mocking and showing their out and out hatred. And that's what this is, hatred and discrimination against Christians. You can't be clearer. And to add to it, really, like, that's what I mean, like beyond Sodom and Gomorrah, you're not just mocking God and Jesus and faith and Christians and the church. Justin, there's a sexual dominatrix undertone. I mean, you are sick, man. Now, if you're some fringe person who has a dungeon at home and you get, okay, but you're the governor of Michigan. You're one of the leading presidential candidates or contenders for the Democratic Party. You're the co-chair of the Kamala Harris presidential campaign. And, it's not like, Justin, we caught her, it was a secret tape and it got leaked. No, she posted it and proudly posted it. And you should have seen all these liberals and Democrats. You go, Gretchen. You go, girl. They consider her a hero, a heroine. No, Justin, we're way beyond Sodom and Gomorrah. Justin, thank you very much for that call. Agree, disagree, all of your calls next. 7:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very, very quickly. This is from 617. And I didn't look at it this way. And the only reason why I'm reading it is because a lot of you have been texting the Kuhner Man making a similar point. So what many of you are saying, and I don't know if you agree or disagree with this, but what some of you are clearly saying is, Jeff, 617, Jeff, the Dorito is also symbolic because it's triangle shaped like the genital area of a woman. I did not catch that. Boy, that one, that flew over my head. But many of you are saying it's not just because Doritos are her favorite snack or her favorite food, and that's why Gretchen Whitmer gives the Dorito corn chip to this kneeling left-wing influencer, mimicking and mocking the Holy Communion and the Eucharist. Many of you are saying, no, Jeff, there's a double meaning to the Dorito chip. It's not just because it's her favorite. Look at the way it's shaped. Interesting. I didn't see that. Agree, disagree. 617-266. The what? Sorry, Sandy? Oh, okay. So Sandy says that is a bizarre theory. She goes, you didn't see it for a reason. Okay, Sandy. All right, woo, I'm thinking like, boy, I'm starting to lose my fastball here. 617-266-6868. Mike in Methuen. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mike.
You started by asking if what they did was appropriate. And I would say 100% yes, because that is who they are. I'm almost relieved that the cat's out of the bag. They're no longer trying to give us a rope-a-dope. They're so arrogant, they're just doing it in our face. And as far as any voting backlash, I don't see it. The Pope himself right now is so left-wing, it isn't even funny. So I don't think they're going to get any backlash. I hope they do, but I think the common voter is too far gone.
Let me, Mike, I got to tell you, part of me thinks you're right. You know, I think half of me doesn't want to believe that you're right. And maybe, you know, that's why I'm kind of hoping for, you know, a backlash to come. Because I know it's been denounced by a lot of people on X. There was a real strong backlash on X by a lot of people, and some, you know, Catholic groups came out and really strongly condemned it. And now Christian groups are coming out and really blasting it. But, you know, you're talking about, you know, the average voter. I think you may have a point. Mike, let me ask you, when it gets to the point where they're openly mocking and ridiculing, really defaming your religious faith to your face, and you don't care, what does that say about you? And honestly, what does that say about our country?
I think it's, again, what the Communist Manifesto is. I mean, when what is one of the biggest obstacles to communism? Anything that has faith in the opposite direction. Christianity, Judeo-Christian belief in general, hard work, individuality, they have to crush that. So, you know, nothing gives you more blind obedience like faith. They are trying to surpass faith. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm just relieved that they're doing it in our face. So anyone who is awake and paying attention, like you said, you would have to be crazy to vote for this ticket. You would have to be crazy to vote for the Democratic Party. It's almost suicidal. Between the tax on unrealized capital gains, abortion, all the way up even through birth. I keep waiting for people to actually be outraged, and it just doesn't happen.
Or, you know, giving amnesty to every single illegal. I mean, she just promised it again last night.
And again, the Pope himself was for that. Borders are bad. How are borders bad?
No, you're right. No, he said that. No, Mike, what he said was, not to cut you off, but this is what he said. He said, the election in this country is between the lesser of two evils, and Catholics have to choose what it is, according to the Pope. One is abortion, and the other one is the border. And he's saying, well, Trump is so bad on the border because he wants to secure it. I can see you wanting to vote against Trump. But Kamala is so pro-abortion, I could see why you'd want to vote against Kamala. So literally, the Pope is saying there's no moral difference between the two. So you're right. He's such an open borders globalist that he's basically giving Catholics, wink, wink, the green light to vote for Trump. I mean, honestly, it's pathetic. I'm sorry, there's no other word for it. It's pathetic. Great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so you've got now full panic in the Kamala campaign, in the wake now of this growing backlash, at least online. We'll see if it translates into votes in the election on November 5th, but clearly online, there has been a massive pushback on Gretchen Whitmer engaging what is to me clearly obvious naked blasphemy, giving a Dorito chip to a feminist left-wing influencer that she had just done a pro-abortion podcast with. She is kneeling as if she's about to receive communion, and then Gretchen Whitmer, wearing a Harris Waltz camouflaged ball cap or baseball cap, is giving the Dorito in her mouth, on her tongue, like it's communion, Holy Communion. And then the camera turns to her, and she gives this strange look, basically vote for Harris Waltz. But she gives this very strange, bizarre look, clearly mocking the Eucharist, mocking Christians, mocking communion, and frankly, mocking Catholics. There's no getting around it. Now, they're worried. Michigan in particular has a lot of Catholic voters. This is now making the rounds. A lot of people are upset. Kamala's campaign is worried. This is going to cost her a tremendous amount of votes. As this is going on, there is now an explosive allegation that has come out. We have to verify and corroborate if it's true. But if it is true, this could be the end of the Kamala campaign. So, a member of the North Carolina National Guard has now come out and said that he was involved in a photo op with Kamala Harris. She went to North Carolina for the cameras. Listen to this. You want to talk about depraved and evil. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. He says that they loaded up a helicopter with supplies, food, water, medicine, emergency supplies. And there were the cameras showing everybody loading up the supplies. There was Kamala Harris talking about the need to send these supplies to people who are in need and who needed help. And then she walked away, got her photo op, and the supplies were never sent. The helicopter never left the ground. They then unloaded the supplies from the helicopter. The whole thing was completely fake and completely staged. And he's now saying, I'm blowing the whistle on this. I was there. We have evidence. I got the tape. I videotaped it. She knew about it. It was all an act. She had to look presidential. She had to look like she gave a damn, like she cared. So she lands in North Carolina. The Army National Guard is there. They start rolling in boxes, necessary supplies. There's Kamala talking, saying, yeah, we're loading up a helicopter right now. I'm coordinating this, and we're going to send it off to people in need. She finished her little shtick. She got the media there. She got her picture taken. She got the video done. She walked away. As she's walking away, they're unloading the supplies. That chopper never left. Never left. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. People are desperate and dying. They're isolated. They're living day to day. They're still finding bodies 2 weeks later after Hurricane Helene. And you got a helicopter full of supplies? And you don't send it out on a mission? But you unload the helicopter and take out the supplies because Kamala's done with her photo op? Beyond disgusting, beyond unforgivable. This woman, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, is a narcissistic sociopath. She doesn't care for anyone but herself. She has ice water in her veins. Now, if this is corroborated and verified and this gets out, she's finished. But she had Obama now in Pennsylvania trying to rally support for her, okay? She's desperate. She's got the media now circling the wagons. She's got Biden now attacking Trump over hurricane relief. She's got Obama shilling for her and literally urging black men in particular, the brothers, as he's calling them, saying, you got to show more loyalty. You got to vote for Kamala. Where are you guys? No amount of campaigning by Obama, no amount of media support, no amount of government propaganda. When this comes out, if it's corroborated, bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. 617-266-6868. So we got 25 days left before the election. And I am telling you, the Dems are starting to freak out. And they have every reason to be freaking out. Jeff in Fairhaven. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
How you doing?
Hi, Jeff.
I really hope you're right. and I hope I'm wrong, but this is how I see things. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of pushback from people in Michigan or Minnesota. Maybe in other parts of the country you will, but in those two states, I don't think it's going to be like you think it's going to be, because there's a lot of Muslim people in those two areas, and they're the ones that voted for these people to get into office. So they don't care about Christianity or Catholics. They're Muslims. They don't care about that. I think they probably saw that video and laughed about it. So, again, I hope you're right and I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see a whole lot of pushback coming from those two areas.
Well, let me ask you a deeper question. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. You could be right. I could be wrong. I don't pretend to have a crystal ball. But Jeff, let me ask you just a bit more of a deeper question. Say Catholics everywhere. Let's leave out Minnesota, or Wisconsin, or Michigan, or Pennsylvania, even a lot of Catholics in Pennsylvania as well. But just in general, do you think, say, at your local church or at my local church, that if you showed them this video, would they care? In other words, have we gotten to the point in our country, in our society, in our culture, that even when your own faith is mocked in such a despicable, insulting fashion, and your most fundamental beliefs are spit on, really spit on, and people just shrug and they just don't care for whatever reason? They just don't care, as if we're becoming so desensitized and we're becoming so dumbed down as a people, as a nation, that we've almost lost our pride and our self-respect. Has it gotten to that point, Jeff?
I think yes and no. I think yes, as far as younger people are concerned, because they've been force-fed this stuff, from day one. So, but older people, they've seen the change, going along, and a lot of this rubs them the wrong way, puts a bad taste in their mouth. But the younger people, they think that that's kind of like a normal thing nowadays. I hate to say it, but I think they've been brainwashed.
Jeff, look, I don't want to go down this road, but I feel I need to, because just to be honest with you and the audience, look, the Muslims would never accept this. Everybody knows that. They just wouldn't. You mock their faith, never mind like this, in a slight way, and they'll go jihad on you. To be fair, and to their credit, the Jews would not put up with this. There would be yelling and screaming. They would be denouncing this to the high heavens. They'd be in front of TV cameras. They'd be going on, newspapers and on cable TV and on radio talk shows, and they would stand up and defend their faith. They would. What is it about Christians and Catholics that in the face of insult after insult, attack after attack, defamation after defamation, smear after smear, it's like we just stand there and we just take it? I mean, Jeff, am I missing something?
I think first of all, we're taught to turn the other cheek. All right, that's what we do. All right. Now, there comes the tipping point where you can't do that any longer. You have to stand up for yourself. But by and large, we're taught to turn the other cheek. Also, too, for a long, long time now, it's almost been in vogue to start, to pick on.
Yeah, to bash Christians, to bash the church. No, look, I think you nailed it. I think you really nailed it, Jeff. Look, I've been saying this for a while now. It's time for Christians, Catholics, all of us. We've got to start standing up for ourselves. 7:48 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, just to put an exclamation point, as I was saying before Mike and Sandy cut me off during as we came to the break, look, there's a war on Christians. There just is. Okay, there's a war on Catholics, which is maybe the favorite of all the Christians to bash. But look, there's a war on Christianity. And this has been going on, as Mark in New Hampshire, our first caller, laid out, ever since Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. This has been at the heart of Marxism, at the heart of socialism, at the heart of liberalism from its very beginning. So they want to abolish the nation state. They want to abolish the family. They want to abolish God and religion, especially our Judeo-Christian heritage. And what you're seeing now is it's gone full circle. It's getting to the point now where the co-chair of a presidential campaign, Kamala Harris's co-chair, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of a major state, is now literally mimicking a dominatrix with sexual undertones, acting as a priestess, giving a Dorito corn chip, because it's Kamala Harris's favorite snack, to a kneeling pro-abortion liberal feminist in mocking and mimicking Holy Communion and taking the Eucharist. I mean, that's what it's come down to. As Gretchen Whitmer is wearing a Harris Waltz baseball cap. So you hate God, you hate Christians, you hate the church, you're an anti-Catholic bigot, vote for Harrison Waltz. You love abortion the way she does. The whole podcast that she was on with this woman was all about abortion. And how radical abortion should be, how liberating. It's like I kept saying, it's liberating to have abortions. I mean, you got to hear that. It's a disgusting podcast. Whatever you are on the abortion issue, I'm not kidding, 5 abortions, 6 abortions, 7 abortions, 8 abortions, 10 abortions, post-birth abortion, just abort. I was like, what is wrong with you people? But that's what it is. So, and I'll never forget, it's one of the most powerful lines in Alexander Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago, which I think is the greatest work of the 20th century. And he was the most brilliant, ferocious anti-communist of the 20th century. And Solzhenitsyn warned, not just the Russian people, but the world. He said, you want to know what communism at its heart and core truly is? It's Satanism. He goes, it's a form of Satanism. You look at Gretchen Whitmer, look at the video. You tell me, and she's acting sort of like the priestess, and this is her submissive disciple who's on her knees, the way, a Catholic is to take the Holy Communion. You look at that and you say to yourself, my God, this is borderline satanic. It really is borderline satanic. And now it's out in the open. They're anti-Christian, anti-Catholic, anti-God. And they're not hiding it. They're proud of it. They're proud of it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Tony in Chicago. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Tony.
I want to make a few points here.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe that Donald Trump has been selected to be our next president. I think he will be our next president. He's been selected by the deep state, and you and I are definitely on the same page today. Satanism is at the heart of everything they do. And what does Satan love more than anything in the whole world? Murder. But there's one thing Satan loves even more than murder, and that's mass murder. And there's another word for that. It's called war. So what the deep state's trying to do here is they've got a couple wars going on, 2 or 3 wars, and they don't want Kamala Harris being the commander-in-chief presiding over these wars because she's a Democrat. So what they're going to do is they're going to push Trump into the Oval Office. He's going to be our next president, and then they'll push him into these wars, and then they'll blame the wars on him. Then they'll impeach him. There'll be all these nightmares, and they'll put a rhino Republican in there, or they might even kill him, but they'll set him up for then 4 years later. Gee, look at how bad these Republicans are. Then they'll bring the Democrats back. So I think Trump needs to be very careful, and my advice to Trump would be campaign on being the peacetime president, and yes, campaign on being pro-Christian.
Well, Tony, just to finish what you're saying, and you're making obviously very interesting points. Look, what is the ultimate war? It's World War III. I mean, World War I was incredibly destructive. World War II, and everybody thought you could never have a more destructive war than World War I. Well, just wait 20 years. And World War II was even more destructive. And the death toll was even higher, an unimaginable level. But now you got World War III with nuclear weapons, and in particular Russia and Ukraine, the Russians and Iran. The mullahs now are very close to a nuclear bomb. In fact, the big decision Israel now is going to have to make, and Netanyahu's on the verge of making it, is he now going to unleash a massive missile air campaign against Iran's nuclear facilities? And the Iranians have told him unequivocally, you attack our nuclear and oil facilities, it's going to be all-out war. All-out war. So we're staring down the barrel now of not one, but 2 potential major wars that may end up, using nuclear weapons. And you want to talk about mass murder. Nothing commits more mass murder. Nothing is more satanic, to finish your thought, than a third world war. So Trump has to run as the peace candidate. Trump has to deliver peace. He has to deliver peace quickly with Russia and with Israel and Iran. He's got to calm the Middle East down, end this war before it gets us all killed, and sign a negotiated peace deal between the Russians and the Ukrainians. Because once you start getting into limited tactical nuclear strikes, you're now talking millions dead. And as you put it, that's exactly what Satan would want. There's nothing more evil than a world war. I mean, abortion many things are very evil. But when you start talking mushroom nuclear clouds, ay, ay, ay. So that's why Kamala and Biden, I blame them, because they have put this world at the brink. And I, like you, I do believe God has sent Donald Trump. I do. And he is our last best hope. When someone throws you a lifeline and you're drowning, you grab that lifeline. You don't look at it. You don't say, I don't know, he's on his 3rd marriage. Oh, I don't know, he's tweeting, and he can be rough around the edges and be at times vulgar or coarse or say things that I find a little cringeworthy, or, he's bashing Whoopi Goldberg as he did a couple nights ago in Pennsylvania. And why is he attacking Whoopi? And that's a little unpresidential. And when someone throws you a lifeline and is going to save your life, you grab it. You grab it. And you thank him and the Lord that lifeline was there. That's Donald Trump. He's our nation's lifeline. Grab it. Thank you for that call, Tony. 617-266-6868 is the number. Charles in Wilmington. Thanks for holding, Charles, and welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Charles.
I want to say that I'm 60 years old, and this is the first time I've ever called into any talk show ever.
Welcome, Charles. Welcome.
I've got several things to tell you, so I'm just going to be quick. As far as the video, I can't add anything more than what's been said. The only thing I can say is that I went to Catholic kindergarten, grammar school, high school, and the priests were all pastors were like, separated church and state. Well, as far as I'm concerned, when Pope Francis said what he said, every person at their parish should go up to their pastor or priest and say, you got to let our congregation know that. So that's one thing. I'm going to play like 4 or 5 things on you, and then you can choose what you want. I was driving down the Southeast Expressway on Monday, and outside where the union office is, they have a big billboard. It said, Trump is a scab. Now, I don't even know what they're trying to imply, but, as the union head for Boston, you played the tape of him saying, forget about the Democrats, going Republican. That's one thing. Another thing, I have several friends in Maui, and when it burned down, they got $750 for one person or $750 for 4 people. It took them over 2 months to get that. So there's another Biden one for you.
Charles, can you do me a favor? You're making excellent points. Can you just hang on, please? It's 8 o'clock. I've got to do the call log, but I'm going to come right back to you. Okay, so don't go anywhere, Charles. And you're doing very good. First time you've called, you're doing great. Okay, my friends, 8 o'clock. You know what that means? Caller of the week, Kuhner's call log.
It's time for Kuhner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Thanks for holding, John.
We're facing some very tough times. All the conspiracy theory to control the weather. Jeff, it's a fact they can control it. And it's not even hard to do. So whether they control the weather to do this or not, you can put that aside. Look how they're handling it. No one should ever say they didn't have a plan, because this was exactly their plan, or they wouldn't be doing it. There's no way this is not on purpose. Trump said it best, and it encompasses a lot of things. They're not only after me, they're after you. I'm in the way. They're trying to kill him, and now they're killing us, Jeff. And it's right in front of people's faces, and people better wake up and do it real quick. It's intentional, Jeff. You never touch on this. Food, water, and Jeff, you might have a house right now. You better get some alternative shelter, too, because it's coming, Jeff, whether he wins or not. They're not going to give up. That plan's already written for him to go off in every major city. They had it written in 2020 when Biden won. They didn't need it, so they put it aside. Pure evil, Jeff. Pure, unadulterated evil.
And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. Great call by John. I got to tell you. And again, the callers this week, A+. A++. So, John, if you're listening, congratulations, my friend. And like I said when you called, don't be a stranger. Call more often, John. Okay, let's go back to Charles in Wilmington. Charles, just very quickly, I don't want to keep you on much longer. I know you're busy. I saw that sign on the I-93 about Trump is a scab. And like you, I'm like, what are you talking about? And I think the reason why they're pushing that sign is they're trying to make the argument, which is a lie, that Trump is anti-union and that Trump is anti-working class and that he's anti-worker and he's against, blue-collar people, which is literally the exact opposite. No one is more pro-union, pro-working class, pro-blue-collar than Trump. Who wants to bring all the manufacturing jobs back? Trump. Who's the one that wants to stop outsourcing our industry, our factories, our wealth to other countries all over the world? Trump. Who's the one that wants to raise the wages of workers and did it when he was president? Trump. So ordinary working people like you and me and everybody can have more take-home pay. It's Trump. So this idea that somehow Trump is anti-working class is pure balderdash, as they say. It's BS. It's a lie. It's a lie. Just like when the left says he wants a national abortion ban. Kamala keeps lying about it. Waltz keeps lying about it. He doesn't want a national abortion ban. He wants abortion decided by the people in the states, which is where the Constitution says the issue should be. So, look, Charles, what is obvious to me is that the left now is freaking out. They're in a complete meltdown because they can see it now. He's leading in the polls. He's leading in all the battleground states. It is so bad, Charles. Really, let me tell you, like, you want to talk about offensive and insulting. The Democratic Party has essentially now told Kamala, shut up. You can't do an interview, even a softball interview. Just like, shut up. So we're calling in now the big boys. They're calling in Bill Clinton and Barack Obama to campaign for her. So basically, you can't campaign. You can't do it on your own. You need Obama to campaign for you. You need Bill and Hillary to campaign for you. Now, it doesn't matter. Obama is not going to save Pennsylvania for her. He's not. Bill and Hillary are not going to save North Carolina or Georgia for her. They're not. And so the Democrats, mark my words, in about another week, when this story comes out, okay, I mean, it's coming out, but when it really has a full impact, when churches in Michigan, churches in Wisconsin, churches in Pennsylvania say, she did what? Gretchen Whitmer did what? She's Kamala's campaign co-chair? What? Even if it costs her 1 or 2 percentage points, that's the ball game. In a close election like this, that's the decisive edge. She has been making unforced error after unforced error. She has been shooting herself in the foot non-stop. Honestly, Charles, last point, and I want to go back to you. I have never seen someone ever run such an inept, incompetent, disastrous campaign like this. I've never seen this. I've never seen this. Who goes on Stephen Colbert and has a beer while people are dying in North Carolina? And you've got this mother hurricane roaring towards Florida. Who does that? Who goes on The View? Like, just think about this. Biden now has horrible approval ratings. Okay, that's just a fact. His record is deeply unpopular. And she's asked by these dimwits on The View, would you do anything different than if you were president than Joe Biden? Would you have done anything different? Like, it's not a softball. It's a beach ball they were throwing at her. A big, soft beach ball. Here it is, Kamala. Come on now. Just hit it. The obvious answer is yes. I like Joe. I respect Joe. I'm proud of much of what we've done together. But I would have attacked inflation harder and more aggressively. I wouldn't have allowed the border to disintegrate the way it did. She could have given $1 million. I would have handled Afghanistan differently. She could have said so much. Instead, no, I wouldn't have done anything different. What? So you tie yourself to his disastrous record? Are you that stupid, lady? And now this? This wasn't just a jab at Catholics or at Christians. This was open blasphemy and mockery. This was naked ridicule and vilification. Really, here's what they just did, Charles, to Christians all over the country and Catholics in particular. Puh. Again, puh. No, let's do it again. Puh. Okay. Don't come crying to me when you lose the election. 617, and lose it now, I'm telling you, she will. 617-266-6868. Phil in North Carolina. Phil, how are you?
Well, we're doing better thanks to you.
So did Samaritan's Purse reach out to you, Phil?
Called and they were just one. I spoke with a lady and she was just wonderful, and she said, "I'm going to put you on our priority list, and we'll have some volunteers in there." And she says it's not going to cost you a cent. And I said, "Well, it certainly can make a contribution, I'm sure." But she was terrific, and I thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Phil. No, when you called yesterday and told me that your house was flooded, that you hadn't seen a single FEMA representative, and that you guys were short on water and food and emergency medical supplies, so I reached out to Samaritan's Purse. I got your number, obviously, and I spoke to Vicky. I'm sure it's Vicky is the one you spoke to, and she's a wonderful person. Samaritan's Purse is an incredible organization. And right away they said, "Jeff, don't worry. We're going to take care of Phil." So, and I'm happy they reached out to you. And Phil, they're going to take care of you from A to Z. And I know you have a wife and you're both in your 80s. So you need help, and they will come and they will help you. And it's the least I could do. I'm just happy that they reached out to you, and that they're going to come and give you everything that you need. Phil, if you don't mind, can you please tell the audience what you told me yesterday on the phone when I called you about why FEMA is not in Asheville where you live, and they've been basically non-existent in much of Western North Carolina? What's the real reason, Phil? Can you please tell the audience?
I think part of the reason, from what I've been told, is it's going to, down the road, mount to almost voter suppression. I mean, they're slow walking, and I checked after we spoke yesterday with some friends. Have you seen FEMA? No, I haven't seen FEMA. It's just a catastrophe. And in Western North Carolina, you've got small nooks and crannies, and west of Asheville, these people vote Republican. And I noticed this morning that what they're doing, too, is they're changing the voting precincts. Where you normally vote, you're going to have to vote somewhere else. Now, it's going to be awfully difficult to communicate to these people because there's no power.
Incredible. So basically now they're slow walking aid because they want to suppress the pro-Trump Republican vote. Beyond disgusting. Phil, stay in contact. Please take care of yourself, and God bless you. 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Heather in Florida. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Heather from Sarasota. How are you?
Heather, I've been thinking about you and your fiancé. I've been worried about you.
Well, thank you so much. And it's so funny. We haven't been able to listen to you, and you were talking about Christianity and God, and by the grace of God, we stayed. We had minimal damage. My family is all good. Everybody's healthy. But the devastation down here is so, it looks like Armageddon. I swear, it's terrible. I mean, roofs off of houses, people's whole house is gone. I mean, it's awful. It's awful.
Now, Heather, I take it you and your fiancé, you're fine? Both of you are fine?
Yeah. Remember you told me to get out, and I stayed. We stayed. It was
you see, you're braver than I am. You see what I'm saying, Heather?
Hey, it's Kuhner country. We gotta, it's like you taught us to be strong.
Yeah, well, maybe I should take my own advice. Heather, well, I'm just curious, yes. Did your home suffer any significant major damage?
Anything in our home, and we've only been in the home for about 7 or 8 months now. Our grill, it literally took our Weber grill and threw it across, and it's plumbed into our house. So it took the whole Weber grill, the pipe and everything out of our house. But if that's the least that can happen, we just wanted to make sure our neighbors and our family were safe. And, we can get the gas company out and have them check that. That's not a big deal. my fiance Jake has been amazing. And I mean, it was scary. It was scary. I mean, I was literally huddled up into my bedroom, making sure I had a bathroom in my walk-in closet to go in case something really bad happened. But yeah, we stuck it out. We stuck it out. And you know what? It's just like you said, by the grace of God. I don't know what was looking over us. I don't know. I mean, we just are so blessed.
Heather, if you don't mind me asking,
sure.
What do you make of the response by Governor Ron DeSantis in your area? Has he done a very good, effective job?
So I am a little bit out of the flood zone. So yesterday morning when we woke up, heard sirens and there was cavalry going down the main road. So they were trying to get to, I think, the bay, the Sarasota Bay. He's been amazing. I mean, we don't have power, and I haven't been able to listen to you, and I've been very sad because my cable's out, my power's out. I mean, it's not good in Florida, but that's the least of our worries. But Ron DeSantis he's amazing. He's amazing. He is. I'm sure within the week we'll probably get power. We have ice and coolers. We're making sure that we have ice in our refrigerator just so we can keep things chilled so we don't lose anything. Unfortunately, we don't have a generator, which maybe that'll be our next step, just so we can power like the fridge and things like that. But we went out yesterday because to have sustenance and you want something warm in your belly, we had to travel a little bit to get probably the worst Chinese food that we ever had, but at least it was something. So yeah, we are so blessed. I mean, my whole family, but the devastation down here, Jeff, if you look, I'm sure you've looked online. Sandy said she looked online, and it's just...
It looks like a war zone.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Heather, I agree with you. It looks like a war zone, and I was very worried about you and your fiancé, and anyway, I'm just happy that you're safe, he's safe. Looks like you're home pretty much a little bit scathed, but for the most part unscathed. And please, Heather, continue to take care of yourself. Give my best to your fiancé, and when your power is up and running, start listening to the show again, Heather, so you can keep calling in. Deal? Is that a deal, Heather?
We had a deal, Jeff.
Heather, God bless you, and thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Look, there's no question. DeSantis is the man of the hour. He rose to the occasion. People all across Florida are saying, look, one death is one too many. Please don't get me wrong. But the death toll so far, what is it, 9, 10? It's 17 now. Okay, forgive me. 17. Look, that's 17 too many. But it could have been so much higher. I mean, look, over 235 dead from Hurricane Helene, which was nowhere near a Category 5 hurricane. And that's because of DeSantis' preparedness. He was ready, he was bold, he was proactive. Honestly, it was a masterclass on how to deal with a hurricane. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. Okay, coming up in exactly 29 minutes at 9 o'clock sharp, we're going to have Gordon Chang on. He's one of the world's leading experts, as Trump would put it, on China. I love it how he says China, on China. It's a must listen to interview. Trust me, you are not going to believe what Beijing and the communist Chinese have planned for the United States and why they're backing Kamala openly in this election. 617-266-6868. Dan in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. This is Nurse Dan for Congress.
Hi,
Jeff,
Dan.
if we want to look at the dichotomy between Democrat political leaders like Gretchen Whitmer and the Democrat supporters, it's really a question that the Democrat leaders don't care, and the Democrat supporters don't believe their lying eyes. That's the difference between being woke and being awake. And when I travel across my district, I no longer see any Black Lives Matter signs. I don't see any, hate has no home here signs. I see no more science is real signs. And that's why the Democrat supporters are so vulnerable and so gullible to hoaxes. They just don't want to believe what they're hearing. And so, regrettably, what Gretchen Whitmer did is probably going to have little or no impact on the electoral outcome. That being said, it's going to have a longer-term impact when reality and truth smacks these people in the face. And it does. The truth always reveals itself. It just may not reveal itself within the time frame that awake people like us want it to be. And one comment about Ron DeSantis, he is the quintessential man in the arena.
Oh, I agree. I think there's no question. Look, I think it's now 2 hurricanes back to back. His leadership has been stellar. The way he politically decapitated Kamala, this is what I find remarkable. It's not just how he prepared Florida. And again, I know I've used this analogy a few times, but there's no other analogy or parallel that comes to mind. Comparison. He was like a general. Real executive leadership. He was decisive. He was bold. He was commanding. He prepositioned almost like an army. Linemen, emergency crew and personnel. He called up the National Guard. He ordered these I thought, very aggressive, and I don't mean aggressive in a bad way, but he wasn't even going to wait for people to die. At the moment the storm hit, he sent in rescue crews, saying, look, we're going to back you. We're going to give you all the equipment you need, all the help you need. Get in there. People are calling. They're saying they're trapped in their homes, flooding and this big storm surge. Get them out now. Don't wait until the morning. It may be too late. So God knows how many lives he saved, but he saved a lot of lives. This death toll could have been much higher. So, and he's doing all this. And then Kamala is trying to deliberately interject herself into the chain of command because she wants to cynically use this storm as a piece of campaign propaganda. She's openly trying to politicize the storm to her advantage. And DeSantis came out and said, I'm selfish for not taking her stupid phone calls, even though she's never called me in 3.5 years when we've had hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. Because I'm focused on saving lives. I'm the selfish one? Like, I don't have time for this idiot. He politically cut her head off. The polls show she's never recovered from that. And now it's just, it's like a sinking ship. Now they can't plug the holes. You got Gretchen Whitmer now. I mean, what she's done now is she has so offended Christians and Catholics. I don't know. We'll see how much it hurts in the vote, but she did Kamala no favors. None. This is the most amateurish, adolescent, unprofessional, unserious presidential campaign I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this. This woman avoids the media like the plague. Then they give her softball interviews, and she can't even handle that. So now they're saying, don't do anything. Stand back, hide in the basement again. We're going to bring in Obama, and we're going to bring in the Clintons. We're going to bring in the big guns because, like a desperate little poodle, she now has to be rescued because she's so blatantly incompetent. Dan, this is now, it's a disaster. This campaign has turned into a disaster. She's a disaster. And look, I agree with you. I think Ron DeSantis has now reestablished himself, not just as the best governor in America, but as a national political force to be reckoned with. And when his 2 years are up in Florida as governor, I really hope he and Trump can really bury the hatchet. I know they're friends. I know DeSantis endorsed Trump. I know Trump is now praising DeSantis' leadership. So, they've kind of made up. But I mean really make up. And I hope he gives DeSantis a huge cabinet position in 2 years. A really high-profile cabinet position. Because he's a tremendous asset. And I think Trump and the country could use him and need him. What say you, Dan?
Well, you're seeing a contrast between Ron DeSantis and Kamala Harris. And Ron DeSantis is applying his military training with regimented precision. He's a serious-minded guy. And then you look at Kamala Harris, and it's a clown show. And that's what we're looking at. And I've been saying it all along. Republicans should let Kamala speak as often as she can, because she's the greatest asset to the Republican Party and the conservative movement, because she's such a clown show. And one last thing, I've been saying it all along, Jeff, Trump needs to debate her one more time. The Tuesday before the general election, it will be a kill shot, and he will win, and nobody will question the results. If you got an ear to him, tell him one more debate, town forum, who cares who hosts it, go out there, and in 90 minutes, dismantle her once and for all, forever. And not only will Trump win, but the people will win.
Dan, thank you very much for that call. Kamala now has gone to CNN, and she's taunting Trump and asking him for a debate. So she says she wants to do one more, not on Fox. Fox threw an offer on the table to have a debate. She won't do Fox, but she said she will do a debate on This Is CNN. And Trump has now come out and said, I'm done with debates. So he may change his mind. We'll see. You know how Trump is. He's a little mercurial. So, he says yes one day, he may say no the next, or he may say no one day and say yes the next. So we'll see if his people can persuade him to change his mind. But as things stand right now, his position is, we've had a couple debates. She says she wouldn't have done anything differently than Biden. So this is going to be Biden 2.0 if she wins in November. The American people now have a clear, stark choice. And, I offered her a debate on Fox. She wouldn't take it. I offered her a debate on NBC News. She wouldn't take it. And he says people have already started voting and I'm done. And as he put it, I'm in the lead. So according to him, if I'm in the lead, why should I even risk a debate? That's his position. So we'll see if he changes. But Kamala now officially has asked CNN to issue a challenge to Trump to debate her one more time. 617-266-6868. Thank you for that call, Dan. Mike in Chicago. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
You're welcome, Jeff. How are you today?
Good, very good.
Jeff, you're not going to believe what I'm telling you. I'm a Jew, and I used to live in an all-Orthodox neighborhood, and my house took over me a little bit because I'm getting older. So I had to move into an independent living place, which is run by the Catholics. I've become friendly with a lot of the nuns and the priests, and I've talked, and I wore a shirt the other day that said the Shady Bunch. It has Clinton on there, and Hillary, and Biden, and Kamala, and they were so insulted by this. Even the priests, they said they would never vote for Trump. And the nuns said they would never vote for Trump. I says, how could you not vote for a person that's so against abortion? I mean, as a Jew, I told them. I said, I can't believe that you're doing it. And we sat and talked. The priest and I just sat and talked for about maybe 10, 15 minutes, I swear to God. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And one man that I eat dinner with saw my shirt, and he's one of the people here that helps the priests on the church and all the holidays. And
Mike, can you do me a big favor, please? To me, this is fascinating. Mike, I'm up against a hard break. Hang on. Mike is going to tell us why all of these priests and nuns are going to be voting for Kamala. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Okay, let's go right back to Mike in Chicago, as I like to say, in Chicago. Mike, who is Jewish, but he lives in a Catholic community, spends a lot of time talking to priests, to nuns, to deacons, and he wore a shirt making fun of Obama and Hillary and the Democrats. And the priests and the nuns were outraged. And they were telling Mike, under no circumstances would they vote for Donald Trump. Mike had a 15-minute conversation with some of them. Mike, could you tell us why? Why would these priests and nuns, who are supposed to be, following the Catholic catechism, following and adhering to Catholic social teaching, about abortion, about a culture of life. I could go on and on. Why are they voting against Trump, the man most responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade? What do they have against Trump?
they hate Trump more than they love their religion. I really believe that with all my heart, because everybody I've talked to say they can't vote for Trump because of this. Well, I'll tell you from my heart, when Trump was a civilian, on television, I really didn't like him. But as a president, I see that he really loves our country, and that's what I love about him. And one of the people I ate with, Jeff, said, if I vote for Trump, then you're going to have another Putin. And all I could think of was, at least Putin cares about his people. These people don't. And then using a line that Jeff Kuhner uses all the time, I said to the priest, I have to say this to you, Father, like I'm in the confessional. If a Jew ran for president, I wouldn't vote for him. I only vote for who's going to be good for the country, not for the religion. I'm sorry, but that's how passionate I am about what's going on, and I am really scared, Jeff. I bless you with all my heart and soul for what you are, because without you, I would be going crazy, because I really listen. Sometimes I can't listen because it makes me too angry, but you are incredible. You really are. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you now. I'm saying that from my heart.
Oh, thank you.
And you are so incredible, and I wish you well and your family well, because you're just do you know the word mensch?
Yes.
Jeff Kuhner.
Thank you. That's the ultimate compliment. Thank you so much, Mike. Mike, before I let you go, so when you spoke to these priests and nuns, the answer they essentially gave you was, he's a threat to democracy. He's going to be another dictator, another Putin, another Hitler. Is that why they're saying they have to vote against Trump?
To be honest with you, at 80, I'm lucky I'll be able to remember your number. but I have that was basically the only reason, is that they just hate Trump more than they love their religion. And one nun said to me, she says, she's the sweetest human being. I mean, I tell them to their face. I say, you people, the nuns, I said, you're like angels on earth. I mean, you take care of people. I can't believe you're thinking of it. And she says, she separated religion from church, I just can't believe it. I mean, and then they walk away. I said, well, I hope we can agree to disagree as long as we're still friends. And she says, we'll always be friends, and it made me feel good, So, and the funny thing is, my daughter-in-law, who's Catholic, said to me, when we take you there, they might try to convert you. So last week I told her, I said, Jennifer, I have to tell you something. I have 6 nuns converting to Judaism. So I got to, Jeff, just keep your sense of humor because that's the only thing you got going for you right now. And
Mike, God bless you. We're going to have a lot to celebrate on November 5th, Mike, okay? 3.5 more weeks. That's it. I'm asking you to hold out for just 3.5 more weeks, Mike. And then it'll be morning again in America. Mike, thank you so much for that call. God bless you, my friend. 617-266-6868. So no, it's obvious. They bought the media propaganda, the Democrat propaganda, hook, line, and sinker. I mean, this is unbelievable. So these nuns and priests are going to vote for the most radical, pro-abortion, anti-American ticket in the history of the United States. You can't make this up. 617-266-6868. And I'm the one in the confessional. Really? If I was sitting there with those priests and nuns, hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. No. I'll skip this week. No. You all need to go to the confessional. You know what? I'm good. I can hold off for another week. I don't want to take up room and space. 617-266-6868. Jimmy in Dorchester. Thanks for holding, Jimmy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I want to say something. You said we haven't heard anything from the Pope. I don't think you're going to hear anything from the Pope because a couple of weeks ago, remember you were talking about the Pope and the migrants? Well, I'm going to shock you with this. This Pope, remember he was a bouncer when he was young and then he became a bishop? In this country, the country became corrupt. They were overthrown by people. Let's put it this way. This Pope was a bishop at that time, turned out to be a rat for the corrupt government. 30,000 people were put to their deaths. And he has blood on his hands because he was a rat for that corrupt government. Am I correct, Jeff?
I have to be honest with you, Jimmy. I'm not trying to evade your question. I know a lot about Pope Francis's papacy. I know that he was a socialist when he was an Argentine bishop. I do know that. And I know that he cavorted with communists. But I don't know his full biography in terms of what he did in Argentina or didn't do in Argentina. So I can't comment. I know that he's been disgraceful. I know that he made alliances with people that no Catholic, no Christian, to me, no decent human being should have made. But I can't comment on what he did or didn't do regarding the government. Am I making any sense to you, Jimmy?
Yes. But here's the other thing, Jeff. Since he's been Pope, he's done things that, according to the Bible, because I always read the Bible, he's going to pay a price to the Lord our God when it comes to Judgment Day, because there were things in the Bible that the Lord would not agree with him. Some of the things that he said that he accepts, according to the Bible with the Lord, they would be called abominations, what he's agreed to allow into the church. Am I correct, Jeff?
Yes. In fact, yes. And to add, look, I got to be careful how I phrase this. He's flirting with heresy. Okay. At minimum, he's flirting with heresy. He's not just violating the Bible, which, as you know, is the basis of the church, but he's literally violating fundamental Catholic doctrine. And I don't want to turn this into a theology, show. But he's violating fundamental theological Catholic doctrine. And this was a story that broke, a week ago, shocked Catholics all over the world. He promoted 21 cardinals. One of the 21 that he promoted, openly pro-LGBTQ. I mean, openly. Defending transgenderism, transgender rights. Defending the surgical transitioning of men to women, women to men, children, genital mutilation of children. And this is who you promote as a cardinal? As the Pope? Who stands on the rock of St. Peter? Are you kidding me? So, look, I've said it before. He's the Red Pope. He is the Obama of the Catholic Church. And he's got to go. And I've been urging many of my fellow Catholics, traditionalists, conservatives, saying, look at Pope Benedict. He retired. It's time for this Pope to retire. It's time for him to go. But anyway, Jimmy, thank you very much for that call. I really, really appreciate it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Just very, very quickly. What you're seeing now with Gretchen Whitmer, with Kamala Harris, with Joe Biden, with Barack Obama, I could run down the whole list, with the squad, with AOC, Elizabeth Warren, is now open rebellion against the church, against Christianity, against the Jews, against Israel, against the entire Judeo-Christian heritage of the West. And one of the great powers that is pushing this war on Christianity, that is still in so many ways a fundamentally open and brutal communist regime, is that of Communist China. And Communist China is the reason why communism now is still a massive force, a powerful force to be reckoned with around the entire world. The communists have created an alliance with the globalists, with the World Economic Forum, with many powerful billionaires in this country and in Europe. China now, in particular, has infiltrated the Democratic Party through and through. They have infiltrated our media, or much of it, through and through. And so, when you look at what's happening now, it's not an accident that Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a puppet, an agent of Beijing. There's no question now. This is a man who has traveled to Communist China over 30 times. He honeymooned in Communist China after Tiananmen Square. Like, in other words, you can't say, I didn't know it was a brutal regime, a repressive regime. No, the whole world saw Tiananmen Square. So they have their tentacles into Tim Walz, as you know, and I've been documenting this for 4 years now. They have their tentacles into Joe Biden, into Hunter Biden, into the Biden crime family, and they have their tentacles into Kamala Harris and, yes, Gretchen Whitmer. So they are pushing a very rabid, strong, anti-Christian, pro-communist agenda, not just in China, but in the United States and across the West. So a lot of this is not just ideological, it's geopolitical. And it's tied directly to China and their determination, their plan to destroy the United States and become the world's preeminent superpower. And joining me now, it is my distinct honor and privilege, we've had him on the Kuhner Report several times before, is Gordon Chang. He is the author of numerous best-selling books on China. To me, he's clearly one of the world's leading experts on communist China. He's got a new book out. It is called Plan Red. I went through it last night. It's a gem. It is incredibly well written. It's actually a fairly short book. You can read it in 1 or 2 sittings. You're going to be riveted. You're going to open this book and you're not going to be able to put it down. It's called Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America by Gordon Chang. We have Gordon on the line now, Sandy? Yes? Okay. Gordon, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report, and congratulations again on a superb book. How are you?
I'm fine, and it is a distinct honor and pleasure for me to be on your show, Jeff, so thank you.
Gordon, for the listeners, what exactly is China's plan? I know you mentioned there are several pillars to it, but what is their central goal? What is it that animates and drives this regime for the audience out there? What's the central theme of your book?
Well, Xi Jinping is determined to rule, not control or exert hegemony over, but to rule the entire world and the near parts of the solar system. Yes, he believes that the People's Republic of China is the world's only sovereign state. And yes, that may sound ludicrous to most people. It sounds ludicrous to me. But that is, in fact, what they're trying to do. And we need to understand what, in fact, they are saying. And Xi Jinping understands, of course, that in order to accomplish that goal, he has to destroy the United States because we, among others, stand in his way of complete control of the universe.
And in particular, Gordon, how is it that they plan to undermine, sabotage, and ultimately bring us down?
They're doing this in a number of different ways. So, for instance, the Communist Party is behind the Chinese fentanyl gangs. About 70,000 Americans die each year from doses of illicit Chinese fentanyl. That's to weaken the United States. They steal intellectual property from us, somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 billion a year. They are trying to elect our leaders. They are very much involved in this election cycle. They have sent operatives into our country. We are seeing an increase in the tempo of incursions into our military bases by Chinese nationals. They are sponsoring proxy wars around the world. China is involved in the war in Ukraine, the wars in North Africa, and, of course, the war in the Middle East. China is looking to start a war along its periphery. It's got troops deep into Indian-controlled territory. It is encircling Taiwan with its planes and its ships. It is engaging in very provocative behavior in Japan and, of course, against the Philippines in the South China Sea, which is perhaps the most dangerous flashpoint in the world today, which is not actually a war.
You write, Gordon, there's so many lines I could quote. I mean, it's just such a well-written book. But, you write, it is time to take a page from Reagan's playbook and work to bring down our enemy, the Communist Party of China. Gordon, you mentioned the Chinese infiltration of our country and of our elections. Who do they want to win and why? Have they openly backed Kamala? And why do they want her instead of Trump?
Yeah, that's a great question. This election cycle is different from 2020. In 2020, it was very clear that they were supporting Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders in the Democratic Party primaries and Biden over Trump in the general election. This time, their goal is more to disrupt the United States than to pick a candidate. But we're seeing a couple hints that they do support Kamala Harris over Trump. And there's two ways we see this. First of all, on TikTok, which is Chinese owned, and China uses the curation algorithm of that app to propagate its narratives, the videos are overwhelmingly anti-Trump, and that's a hint where Beijing is going. Also, Iran, which often is China's proxy, we're seeing Iran attacking the Trump campaign, stealing material, and handing it over to the Harris campaign, which, to their credit, refused it. But the point is that I think that was a Chinese operation. So at this time, they are looking, I believe, that they don't want Trump back in the Oval Office. And we know that for a number of other factors, apart from their interference in this election cycle.
Gordon, just quickly, why do they fear Trump? What is it about Trump that they oppose and they don't want him back? Is it because of the trade war that he launched? Is it because he's serious about containing communist China? Is that the reason?
It's his unpredictability. The Chinese can deal with hostile American presidents. They've done that before. They love Biden, not because of what Biden does, but because they believe they can control him and they can predict what he's doing. Trump is non-controllable by anybody, and certainly by China. And they had a very rough 4 years with President Trump. When Xi Jinping went to Mar-a-Lago in April 2017, Trump stood up at dinner, said he announced an attack on Syria with missiles. That Syria was a Chinese friend. Xi Jinping was flummoxed. Xi Jinping for 4 years was relatively well behaved. Xi Jinping went on a rampage as soon as Biden became president. Very clear. They do not want Trump, and we know this from history.
Gordon, you tell me if you agree or disagree with this. In 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, the Berlin Wall came down, many in the West, especially the intellectuals, the elites, said the Cold War is over. I disagreed. I said, no, the Cold War is not over because communist China is still standing. Are we now essentially in the midst of a second Cold War? And if we are, why are the Chinese fighting it and we're not?
Yes, we are in a Cold War or worse, because we are losing a lot of Americans to fentanyl, and we lost Americans to COVID. This is, I think, between a Cold War and a kinetic one. And China has been talking about going to war. It is mobilizing all of its society, both military and civilian. We have a president who refuses to acknowledge that, and so therefore we have a political system right now that is not getting us ready because they are ignoring the signs. Democracies tend to do this. We saw this in the 1930s in Europe, but Biden knows better. We know he knows better because in August of last year, he gave a private talk to Democratic Party fundraisers in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he talked about China in candid tones. He won't have that conversation with the American people. So part of the reason is we're naive, we're stupid, we're Americans, but also because we have a president who refuses to discharge his most solemn constitutional duty, which is to protect the American people from foreign attack.
Oh, very well said. Really well said. We've been talking with Gordon Chang. He lived and worked in Shanghai and Hong Kong for almost 2 decades. He's a columnist at Newsweek. He's a regular contributor to The Hill. By the way, I read him at The Hill and on Newsweek. He also writes for Newsmax. He's written numerous best-selling books. Really, he's the world's top guy on China. He's got an absolute gem of a book. It's a short book. It's a very well-written book. You want to know what China intends to do? Buy this book. It's called Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon, I take it, Amazon.com? People can buy it off of Amazon?
Sure, they can, anywhere they buy books.
Anywhere they buy books. So Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, wherever you go. Gordon G. Chang is the author. Again, the book is Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon, congratulations on another masterpiece, and please keep up the outstanding work.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Gordon. 617-266-6868 is the number. They've got their clutches in Kamala. They've got their clutches in Tiananmen Tim. And soon, if we don't stop them, they'll have their clutches in us. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. I've been getting a lot of feedback, and I really appreciate how much so many of you care about this show, the content of the show, and the advertising on the show. And I just want everybody to know, I do not have any control over the ads. So I know certain ads are being run. I understand some of you don't like it. You're not happy about it. I don't blame you. But yeah, exactly, Sandy. It's illegal. Literally, it's illegal. So it's the campaign season and they have the right to buy ads. And so if we turn them down, it's literally illegal. And we're going to be fined and the Kuhner man's going to be out of a job. So I have no say. I can control the editorial content of the show, of what we say on air and what you say and I say. But once we go to commercial, it is out of my hands. So please don't hold it against me. My hands are tied, literally tied. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dino in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Dino, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I got two quick things. First thing, I got videos I sent you. I hope you like the videos. The other thing is, Tim Walz was in the military. So how does the military allowing a military soldier to go to China 30 different times without paperwork, without watching him, without being curious, why is an American soldier going to China so frequently, you know?
That's a brilliant point. That is a great point. And Dino, I promise I won't cut you off. Not only did he go 30 times, he taught there. He brought students with him on exchanges. And to teach in communist China, I mean, I should have asked that question of Gordon Chang, but we only had 10 minutes. I mean, he would tell you, you have to toe the Beijing line. They will not allow anyone who is in any way critical of that regime and government to teach. So essentially, you have to be a fellow traveler to teach. And not only did he teach, when he was there and when he came back, Dino, he openly praised China, communism in China, and Mao Zedong, who is, if you go by the numbers, is the greatest genocidal mass murderer of the 20th century. Mao killed more people than Hitler, than Stalin, than anybody else. And he's praising him. And this guy's in the military? Please continue, Dino.
The funny thing is, I was in Germany. I was in the military for 8 years. And while I was in Germany, I would travel to some of these East Bloc countries occasionally just to see what it was like. I had to do all kinds of paperwork to get into these countries, and that was only for a couple different times. I can't imagine continually going to one of those countries. But, hey, how about standouts? You got a bunch of people out there that haven't gone to standouts, Jeff. We're not the only ones that can stand out. Guys, come out. Women, come out. People, just join us. We only have a few weeks left. Don't let others stand out for you. Please come out and stand out at one of the local standouts and support Trump and support America.
Dino, where can people go to get information? Because I know, especially on weekends, they want to show their support for Trump. Where can they go to find out, say a town or a location, a time, a day? Where can they get that information?
I don't really know. I guess you can go to Facebook and just put it in, but there's the Front Street standout, there's the Bourne Rotary standouts, there's a bunch of different standouts out there down the Cape and everywhere. So people can't just let others stand out for you. Get out there. Support Trump. Support America.
Amen. Amen. Dino, thank you for your service and thank you for your call. Susie in Waltham. Thanks for holding, Susie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I have a couple of points. First of all, my Marine veteran daughter, who couldn't live in Massachusetts anymore, moved back down to North Carolina recently. Well, yesterday, she volunteered. She drove over 4 hours to volunteer to help at a distribution center for survivors of Helene. And let me tell you, I 100% believe that caller earlier today that said that Kamala was just doing a photo op with the National Guard.
Yes.
Because my daughter called me as soon, and she was exhausted. I mean, they were running. She volunteered. It was a little bit over 6 hours straight that she was working, and she said that National Guard was there. However, National Guard did nothing. Nothing. The entire 6 hours she was there. They pretty much just stood around. It was almost like there were. I says, well, what about the commander? Who was in charge? And she says she didn't see anybody. Now again, she is a Marine veteran. She did many years in the Marine Corps. Her last duty station was actually at Camp Lejeune, right there in Jacksonville, North.
That's shameful. Shameful. Susie, can you please hang on? I'm up against a hard break. I want to ask you a few very important questions. This is very important information. Please hang on. We'll come right back to you. Don't touch that dial. The great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay. We're going to go right back to Susie in Waltham, but before we do, joining us now, as she always does at this time, the CEO, president, co-founder of Kelly Financial Services. And yes, that is her wonderful name, Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. I'm feeling much better than I was last Friday. Jeff, I want to thank you, Kuhner Country, our clients, for the prayers for my son William, my family, and all those affected by Helene. William is still in Valdosta, and as he was flying into the area last Monday morning, he said it looked like a war zone, that there was no other way to describe it. Yes, he said it looked like the town was bombed. Ugh. It was terrible. But, Jeff, I mean, Samaritan's Purse is doing a lot of great things. They'll actually be at my father's today to see if they can do any additional help. So that's good. And, you know, we know they've had so many challenges, but they seem to be making progress, you know, one day at a time. And tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio, I will have a live chat on air with William about his experience. And as I said, he's still there, and I have no doubt he will have a lot to report. So we're looking forward to that interview with him, and our Kelly advisors will be focused on a Q3 market recap. John Boudris and I will talk about surprise retirement expenses, and we have a special recording from our archives of Bill Kelly and Rob Townsend back in the fall of 2017. So do tune in. Jeff, thank you again for all the prayers in your
God
listeners.
Bless you. Kelly, can you do me a favor when you interview William for tomorrow's show? Ask him if he's seen any FEMA representatives. I'm just curious what he says. Thank you, Kelly. God bless you. I really appreciate it. We've been talking with Kelly. She's the CEO and president of Kelly Financial Services. You can call them right now to make a free consultation. They're really, trust me when I tell you this, they're huge supporters of the show. They want to help you plan for your retirement. 888-800-1881, 888-800-1881, or you can email Kelly yourself directly, Kelly@kellyfinancial.org, Kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Okay, let's go right back to Susie in Waltham. Susie, you have a wonderful daughter. She was a Marine veteran. She went down to volunteer in North Carolina. She was exhausted. She drove for a couple hours, and then she was working 6 hours. She worked nonstop. And as she's working, there you got the National Guard, and the National Guard is there, but they're not doing anything. Your daughter's working. The volunteers are working. I'm sure Samaritan's Purse was there. They were working, but you got the National Guard, and as you were saying, Camp Lejeune is, right down the road, and they're not doing anything. Susie, can you please pick up where we left off?
Yes. My point, one of my points is, the photo op that Kamala Harris did with the National Guard is a facade. It's a photo op. It means nothing. My daughter said she did not see FEMA there at all, which I'm grateful for that, because we've all heard the stories and we know what's going on with FEMA as far as the rescue of these poor people that have lived through absolute hell. But the volunteers are incredible. You know what? We don't need the federal government. We, the people, are amazing. We, the people, can move heaven and earth. We, the people, can take care of ourselves. No thank you, federal government, federal assistance. We are fine. We don't need you. Stay away. And I'm telling you, she was so, even though she was exhausted, she was so, she couldn't even describe the feeling she felt, because she was able to help. And when the people at that distribution center found out, she lives outside of Raleigh, and she drove like 4 hours to get there yesterday. And they were just so grateful, because she said most of the people working there were actually from like the Flat Rock area, because that's where the distribution center was that she was working out of. But she said it's amazing what civilians and volunteers are doing. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Susie.
And she's my hero. I told her she's my hero.
Oh, no question. No, Susie, really, look, all kidding aside, you should be really proud. You did obviously a wonderful job as a mother. That is an outstanding daughter that you raised. Thank her from me, please, for her service, number one, for serving our country as a Marine, but for her incredible generosity and compassion and humanitarianism to drive all that way, to spend, sacrifice her time, and give so much to help these people in need. She's a hero and she's a true patriot, really a great American. Susie, if you don't mind me asking, and again, if I'm getting too personal, please tell me, did your daughter mention to you why the National Guard was not doing anything? In other words, did she ask them? I don't mean in a rude way, but say, hey guys, I'm just curious, we could help you. We could use some help, loading in supplies, guys are big, strong, you're carrying all these guns, maybe help us out a little bit. Did she ask them? Did they give a reason why the National Guard was just idly standing by and doing nothing?
And she was so busy. She didn't have time to even give that. She was focused on the next car coming in and giving them what was on their list, what they were looking for as far as supplies. She didn't confront them or walk up to them. She just observed that they were doing nothing. They were eating. They were, kind of like hanging around, not working with the volunteers that were there.
Disgraceful.
Well, yeah.
You see, Susie, look, honestly, I really admire your daughter. Please don't take this the wrong way, because she's a doer. She's really a woman of action. You can see that. But that's why once in a while, Susie, you need a guy like me to join these because you'd be all working and saying, what's Kuhner doing? The guy doesn't want to bend over and break his back. But I'm yakking, and a yakker like me would go to these National Guard guys and say, hey guys, I'm just curious, how come you don't want to pitch in? You see what I mean? So a yakker like me, Susie, it's annoying because you're doing all the work and you see me talking, but I have my use. You see what I'm saying, Susie?
I know. And, I agree. I can't say how I would have been in that situation, but I wasn't there. My daughter was there. So.
Oh, she's incredible.
She's
incredible. It's people like her that give me hope. I really mean that. And I know there are so many millions and millions of Americans like that. And that's why I keep trying to remind the audience, don't think the country is Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or now today Gretchen Whitmer. It's not. The country is you and your daughter. That's the majority. And that's why we're going to win in November. Susie, please give my best to your daughter and tell her a big thank you from me for her service and for her courage and patriotism and helping out in a time of need. And again, congratulations. You've done a wonderful job as a mother. You should be so proud. Susie, God bless you, and thank you for sharing that call with us. 617-266-6868. Let's go to Gino in Buffalo. Thanks for holding, Gino, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, my American Goomba by way of Canada. How are you this morning?
I'm good, Gino. How are you, my friend?
Very good. I just getting back to the Pope. He had a lot of nerve telling me it's a venal sin for not allowing illegal invaders into my country, my sovereign country, when the last time I heard the Vatican City hasn't opened up their borders to anybody unless you're putting money in their coffers like the tourists do. So he's not very welcoming. So I hope he has a lot
40-foot high walls. Gino, don't forget, 40-foot high walls. He hasn't allowed one migrant or illegal to come in. So Trump wants a border wall. He says it's immoral. But what about his border wall? Gino, am I wrong?
No. Hey, they've never been open unless you got money to put in their coffers to make that Pope richer than he already is. So I just hope he has something to say about this mocking of the Catholic faith, and more than that, any Christians who take the Eucharist, any offsets of our religion that take the Eucharist and they take that very seriously. It's a transfiguration.
Oh, you're dead on. Gino, thank you very much for that call. I'm not going to hold my breath. I think the Pope's going to remain silent because he knows if he speaks out and condemns it, it's only going to help Trump. And he doesn't want to help Trump. It's pretty obvious now. Oh, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. You can also text us. Our text line, 70470. That's 70470. This is from 803. I think he hit the nail, or she. 803 hit the nail right on the head. Jeff, the left and the media have always mocked Christians and Christianity. Recall the infamous church lady skits from Saturday Night Live on television, or Woody Allen's never-ending mockery of both Christianity and Judaism in his films. But this stunt by Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is a quantum leap more severe, as it directly attacks the central sacrament of Christians and replaces it with a satanic counterfeit. Really well said, really well written. 617-266-6868 is the number. Who do you want me to go to next, Mike? Andy in Charlestown. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi,
Thanks
Andy.
for taking my call. Hey,
my pleasure.
Second-time caller, but I'm a regular listener. You took my call back in March on primary day, and I was advocating for grassroots involvement. I'm on the local GOP committee here. But another reason I'm calling today is more election integrity related, just to give people some hope and grassroots activism for people wanting to get involved. One group that's getting some national attention that I formally volunteer with is called United Sovereign Americans. And it can be found at unite4freedom.com. I encourage everybody to check it out. They've got a brilliant legal strategy, which is grounded on a lot of grassroots activism, looking at voter roll information across 20 states so far. They found 29 million facially ineligible registrations. That by looking at it, you see like multiple registrations for what appears to be the same person, maybe off by a middle initial, or they were registered to vote before they were born, et cetera, et cetera. Of that, they've traced that 10 million votes were cast out of that 29 million. So that's just across 20 states. And they've gone forward and they've formally filed 9 lawsuits in federal circuit courts across every one of the 9 federal circuits, hoping that any case will be taken up, but at the very least, it'll give us standing to have grounds for action post-election if needed. I mean, that was a critical thing that has not allowed a lot of courts to get involved previously for overturning election. The whole thing is really just trying to bring attention to the fact that, like, our voter rolls in our dismal state, and it calls attention to the fact that the elected election officials are just not doing their job. And this stuff continues to be brought to the attention, but there's no action, right? And it's putting them on notice. Another key thing I want to call out is that federal election law allows for only 1 in 125,000 ballots to have error. Those numbers that I cited earlier across the nation amounts to about a 14% error rate.
Oh, it's
so
unbelievable.
The law is being broken.
Oh, no question. Oh, Andy, look, you're dead on. And Andy, just to add to what you're saying, just very quickly, we are a first world country, knock on wood. We're not if Kamala wins in November, that I can tell you. But we're a first world country with a third world election system. That's really what we have. Now, look, maybe I'm being too optimistic. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't claim to have a crystal ball. But even with all the fraud, even with all the election corruption that is there, and it's clearly there, if the election was held right now, today, Donald Trump would win. Because Kamala's campaign is collapsing now on every single front. You had Obama. I mean, this was remarkable. Obama yesterday admitted that Kamala is going to lose the election. He came out and said the black vote black men in particular are abandoning Kamala in such massive numbers that there is no way the Democrats can win. And so he's trying to shame black men. He's calling them brothers, quote unquote brothers, saying you owe it due to the color of your skin. That's literally what he said. Look at the color of your skin. Look at the color of her skin. You must vote for her. I mean, his career is now ending on race hatred. It's all now about race, and no one's listening to him. So, you got to ask yourself, how incompetent do you have to be with this massive built-in advantage? The Electoral College favors the Democrats. You got this huge voting fraud machine now that can manufacture millions and millions of ballots for you, and you're still getting your ass kicked? Pardon the vulgarity? And you're still getting swamped? I mean, now again, it's 3.5 weeks to go. Anything can happen. But I'm telling you, if we stay vigilant, and people like you, Andy, and United Sovereign, if they continue to challenge these voter fraud in the courts and put the Democrats on notice, this is not going to be 2020 all over again. We're not laying down anymore. It's looking really good. Really good. William in Lexington. Thanks for holding, William, and welcome.
Well, Jeff, it's like a breath of fresh air to hear that you are not responsible for the advertisement, because I was almost ready to give up my pure blood status and go get a flu shot and a clot. So I don't have a little TikTok brain, so I do waste a lot of my time watching hearings in Congress, and Sandy can probably, I don't want to get my hopes up. For one, there was 2 yesterday of Trump lawyers in a Congress hearing, and they just did a marvelous job. Wonderful. And also Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz were just, I think you would use the word, eviscerating Mayorkas and who's his other little buddy and some judge about different things. And what I'm wondering is, and when I spend like an hour and a half watching this whole court case, it's very boring, and it's very like, can't you see these people are lying, beating around the mulberry bush, not bringing the paperwork that they should have for that particular trial? It's like,
oh, no, you're right. No, look, they're stonewalling. It's so obvious. But look, William, I'm telling you, that's another thing. Their lawfare strategy is starting to blow up. You had New York appellate judges practically laugh in Letitia James's face. Look, I'm feeling good. Everybody, you should feel good. I'm feeling good. Bye-bye.